What's going on, guys? This is Rodrigo Afondor, your host here with Asheville Real Estate News. Really excited for you to join us back on this episode. Today we're being joined with Daniel Castillo, who's a local realtor here with Dixon Pacifica. He's a data-driven guy. He knows the numbers, likes the numbers, and not only that, he also enjoys the media component of things. And so wanted to bring him on the show today, and we're going to talk a little bit about what the numbers are, what's happened in Q1, Q2, what we think might happen in Q3, and also get into the importance of numbers if you're in the real estate game. So before we get into that though, I want to ask everybody, if you've been following the show, if you like this show, if this show has been helpful to you, if you've gotten things out of it, we really appreciate it if you take your time to go over iTunes or to wherever you listen to your podcast, drop us a review, leave us a comment, let us know how we're doing and what we can do to make it better. So, as we jump into the show, help me welcome Daniel Castillo here on Asheville Real Estate News, your local community-driven news outlet.
Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, man. Thanks so much for joining.
Of course.
So, I know we're going to get into the numbers a little bit and all that, and most people are probably familiar with you because you've been on the show and whatnot before. But what's the 30-second summary? Who are you? How'd you get here? And why are you sitting with us today?
Well, my name is Daniel Castillo. I'm a realtor with Dixon Pacifica Real Estate. As you mentioned, I do like to lean a lot on media, host a lot of Facebook Lives on my Facebook profile, as well as recently launching Asheville Talk and Asheville Eats, two their community outreach pieces. Asheville Talk being the podcast where we sit down and we learn about who you are, what you do, where you came from, and why Asheville. Those are the conversations that are taking place. And then Asheville Eats, kind of highlighting local restaurants and bringing a little bit more attention so that people can either learn something new about a place that they already know and love, or discover a place that they don't quite love just yet, but they soon will.
No, absolutely. By the way, have enjoyed the podcast so far. I wish you would get all those episodes released all at the same time. Obviously, it doesn't work like that, but looking forward to hearing everything else on the show as you release it. It should be
picking up here in the next 2 months.
Super exciting, man. Super exciting. So thanks for doing that and introducing everybody in the community to each other and just kind of being a sticky point of contact in that way.
Of course.
So you've been an agent again for how long?
1.5 years now.
Okay. And during that time, why have you found that numbers are important, and what's the value of digging into the market data?
Sure. So, I mean, numbers are always going to be important because you got to understand your market. If you don't understand your market and what is happening around there, it's not going to be easy for you to be able to direct a educated conversation, whether it is, just having a conversation with somebody over a beer or coffee, somebody just asking you, how's the market looking, right? Likewise, when you're actually working with a client, whether it's listing the property, standing behind it and defending it as offers are coming in, or also on the other side, working with your buyer and you're putting forth these offers and you're trying to defend why that offer is good, especially once you start going through that due diligence period and trying to make adjustments there. If you don't actually understand what is happening and what is going on and where the trends are, depending on who you're working with or against, however you want to look at it, they may or may not take you very seriously. They may or may not respect your statements. What if that agent doesn't exactly have all those data points in front of them when they're going back and talking to their clients? The way that you're able to deliver information is going to play a huge role as to how they're going to turn around and deliver the information back to theirs, right? So, I mean, there's just a lot of value within understanding everything going on there.
I found that even if I disagree with somebody's perspective on what a property might be worth, if I understand the numbers behind it and why they arrived to it, it's like, okay, I might not agree with your final result, but that's just a matter of interpretation of the data. And it's a lot better when you're at least looking at the data the same way. And that part is fact, and how you interpret that sometimes varies. What's your opinion on why somebody is looking at the same house with the same data information about them, and they're going to come up with a different either value of what they think the house is going to be worth or is worth?
Yeah, so a lot of that is going to come down to what are the motivations? Like, why exactly are they looking to sell or buy? And that's going to play a big role as to how they're going to interpret the numbers. Because if there's a large emotional attachment to the home or the property.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
going to place the numbers, right?
Yeah, the numbers are just going to be at that point almost irrelevant, right? And flip side, like us interacting, we've interacted on like work together, and sometimes you can present stuff to people and you can be like, hey, I really appreciate where you're coming from, but here's where I'm coming from. And depending on how they respond to you, gives you a strong basis for you to be like, do I think that this is going to work out? Or am I potentially spinning my wheels? And I'll just revisit it a month or two down the road later if it's still around, because clearly we're not in the same playing field here. They're playing basketball and we're playing golf over here.
Yeah, it's an important starting point. One thing personally, before I ever get into pricing with somebody, if I'm talking to them directly, I always say, hey, let's look at the data and let's make sure we at least agree with what the numbers are and take the conversation from there. So talking about what those numbers are, give us the breakdown. What's happened over the last 2 to 3 months, Q2 here in the Asheville Buncombe area, and then kind of let's dig into that and see what the numbers tell us.
So, I mean, we're gonna see two different things. Like if we're going based off of just how it feels, and we didn't have like concrete numbers for June, but right now things just feel so strong. I mean, we still got homes going on the contract sight unseen. We got them going on the contract within 24 hours.
Wow.
Sometimes I had this happen with a client. House went on the contract within like the first, like let's call it 36 hours. We were actually putting in an offer. We missed out on it. Person was from out of town, decided that they weren't going to move to Western North Carolina anymore, came back on the market, put in another offer, missed out on it again, decided that they wanted to negotiate with somebody else.
Wow.
Came back again, and then we finally got it back around.
Third time's the charm, huh?
Third time, but like, we're just seeing so much activity from stuff like that. That's like the quick, like people are just trying to like put it on there, and we just kept an eye on it, trying to get that opportunity. But we're seeing still, I mean, people are out there buying cash. Ran into somebody from out of town the other day looking to spend $475,000 cash to be able to buy a home here in town. Not really concerned about what it's going to appraise at or anything like that. They just want to be here in Asheville. And we're finding that is holding right now surprisingly well. Homes are appraising. There's not a lot of homes that aren't appraising and aren't getting the lending right now, especially since everything is on such an upward trend. And it's just been interesting to see how this has been, because it's been the big question. At what point is it going to slow down? And we haven't seen any crazy spikes, which are fantastic, because we don't want to see a big spike, because then that's when the big drops follow. We've just seen a steady climb, and it's not really slowing down. Certain things are still holding constant, like days on the market, list to close. There's not a huge differentiation there.
Let's take a step back, just because I think those are two important numbers, and not everybody's necessarily going to know what do you mean when you say days on the market, and what do you say by list to close. So what's days on the market?
So days on the market are going to be, we're going to be looking at exactly how many days. It can be looked at a couple of different ways, but one list to close could be like, you list my home for me and you closed it for me, so that's our time frame. Days on the market, let's say Nolan was my first realtor, and we did a short-term contract. We did 30 days. He unfortunately wasn't able to sell it in 30 days, and then you came around and you put it on the market for me. You put it on, and within 15 days it sold, or it went on the contract. Not necessarily sold, but it went on the contract. Okay, so our days on the market have actually been 45 days, not 15, just because you got that. Now, because there also wasn't a big separation between one listing agreement to the other, so those are considered combined. So
the days on market is cumulative.
It could be cumulative,
and then the list to close is going to be with whoever that listing agent is. Okay.
That's how you can also look at it. It also, that's pretty much how we're going to look at it.
Okay, so. There's a lot of different numbers that you can look at when you're looking at market statistics. Have you found that you have a preference as far as what you look at? Personally, the ones I typically look at are days on market and price per square foot are the two things I key in on first.
Sure. So some of the things that I look at are going to be days on the market for sure, and I like to flip flop back and forth between averages and means for the area, right? Because your average can be skewed based on some high sales, low sales, right? Because we're looking at everything. We're not just looking at our average points, where the mean, right, or your median sale price is going to be like where all the activity is happening. And for the longest time, the average has always been higher, right, because of the skewing that is happening there. But even just looking through the last couple of months, we saw a pretty a nice little jump on our median sales for April versus where it was last year in April. And our average sale actually went down.
So what are those numbers?
So median sale for 2017 was 304,900. Let's call it 305.
305.
Right? So 2018 we're looking at 315. 315,000.
So it's gone up a little bit.
It has gone up. Yeah, I mean it went up
call it 10,000.
Let's call it 10,000, 9,100. Or so let's call it 9,000 then. Our average sales price went down a little bit versus how it was last year. Again, there's a number of things that can affect that, but not largely. We were looking at 369.5 last year. This year we're at, let's call it 362, 361.9.
So it's been negligible then, the difference on both accounts, right? Like it's there, but it's not.
I mean, if you're looking at averages, all it could have taken was too low sales to like potentially like skew that.
So let's dig into it, right? What are the numbers that somebody should be aware of if they are either shopping for a house or in the process of selling their house?
Definitely days on the market, because you want to understand exactly how quickly things are going, because if you see that there's a quick turnaround on days on the market,
you're going to have to make a competitive offer.
Well, if you're buying, or are we talking about buying or selling?
Well, both. So days on market.
So for the sell-in side, I think days on the market are going to be very powerful. They're both powerful on both ends, but most powerful for the sell-in side, because if you see that days on the market are like 45 days, 75 days, whatever, we are taking into account our due diligence period and everything. So if you're not getting offers within the first week, right?
Your price too high.
Your price too high. Well, likewise with a buyer, if you're going into something and you see that things are moving pretty quickly, if one had just hit the market and it's a hot price point, you need to move fast. Likewise, if you see that it's been on there for a little bit longer, then that might be a little bit of basis to think that I might have a little bit more room to negotiate here.
So what are the days on market? Can you break it down to us between, say, Asheville and Buncombe County?
Sure. So days on the market until sale right now, or for April, it was 56 days versus 53 from last year. That's for Asheville.
Are you able to give us a summary of the last 2 to 3 months?
Yeah. So I can get definitely, I've got the 2 months right here, the last 2 months right here. So we were at April, we had 56 and then 61 for the county. So there's only, a 5-day difference there.
So things are moving basically within 2 months, whether you're in the city or in the county then.
Yep. And then May, things picked up 45 days. So
what about the county? Is that 45 for the city or 45 for the county?
That was for the city, and for the county, we're looking at 49 days.
Wow, so they're staying pretty close to each other, whether it's city or county. They're kind of mirroring each other.
For the most part, yeah. And
what are
I'm not surprised to see that either.
What are the price points for, where things are happening right now?
Sure. So in Asheville, I mean, a lot of our activity, and it's been this way for a while, it's going to be around our 340 plus range, is where
342
to 370.
That's the hot spot, quote unquote.
Right now, yes. So our average sale price was 370. The median sale price in May was 306.
Okay.
But yeah, that 300 range, that's under hot. 400, it is pretty hot. Even though, when you go up to 400, it's still pretty competitive, which you got to take into account. Where's our inventory at, right? That could also.
So and that was the other thing I want to talk to you. What is the inventory right now, and what Is it a healthy inventory? Like what's that number, and what number do you look at? What should we be focused on, or what should we be worried about?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be looking at just the new homes that are starting to come on the market, and recently we've been seeing a little bit more activity picking up.
Okay.
It just feels that way, like not even like looking at the numbers themselves, just driving outside of town especially, but even in town, you just see a lot of activity. There's fresh remodels happening, signs are popping up. I was driving through Black Mountain the other day, the south end of Black Mountain, an area that I hadn't been to.
Yeah.
I saw like 2 or 3 new homes being built out there, and probably counted like 9 signs just going off of this like 6 mile stretch.
I love Black Mountain. I think it's a great little area.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, we actually have a new agent here in the office, Casey Jones, who just recently came from working with the city of Black Mountain, the Parks and Recs department.
Oh, wow.
And he gave me a tour of Black Mountain, and basically the tour from somebody that used to represent the city and has lived in the city basically all his life. And I just learned so much about that place. I'm really digging it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that's when I first moved here. That's where I actually ended up living. When I moved to Asheville, I lived in Black Mountain. I think it was about 2 years, maybe 2.5, 3 years, somewhere in there. So we kind of have a feel for what's been happening. Now, if you're gonna look into your crystal ball, look towards the future, any ideas or anticipation as far as what's going to happen over the next few months as we close out summer?
It's always hard to predict, but
use your gut.
I know my gut feeling is that we're not going to see a lot of changes.
Okay.
And so it's like predicting the Asheville market it's kind of uneventful because it's like, hey, things are still going on an upward trend.
Right.
Nothing crazy is happening, which are all great things that people want to hear. But it's like we're seeing homes appraising, we're seeing homes selling, we're seeing the competitive price points, people having trouble getting into them. Cash is a huge obstacle for a lot of people that are coming in looking to finance right now, because there's a lot of people coming in with cash and beating out those offers.
So if you don't have cash, then it's challenging.
It's a little bit more challenging.
Well, anybody's going to want to take a cash offer over a conventional loan offer. So on that note, what do you say to the people, like, what if somebody's wanting to list their house and sell it? It'd be a great time to do so.
Very much so.
But what if they're staying in the area? Then what? Aren't you kind of it's a little bit of a catch-22?
It is, and that's going to come down to a number of different things that everybody's going to have to basically ask themselves, which is, what's my motivation to sell? What am I trying to do? Am I trying to downsize? Am I trying to upsize? Am I trying to increase my quote-unquote quality of life? Like, what's happening there? Asheville has been a little challenging for some people. Like, let's say if you have a salaried job, and if you're a teacher or a city employee or something like that, your equity is rising in your home. You can sell, you can walk away with some cash, but then what do? Where are you going to go? It's kind of like people, they're not necessarily moving into a more desirable neighborhood, not always moving into a nicer house, unless their income has also changed and gone up. So a lot of young professionals are being able to make those moves a lot easier than some people that have just been kind of like sitting at a fixed income. So those are really things that people have to ask themselves if they're really looking to stay in town. Why am I trying to sell it? What am I trying to accomplish? And am I truly set up to be able to achieve the success that I'm looking for?
Right. Awesome. Well, if somebody doesn't, have the opportunity to sit down with you or sit down with a different agent and go into the numbers, is there anywhere online that's like a free resource or anything like that would be a guiding light to, look at numbers?
That's a really great question. And unfortunately, I look at everything off of our matrix, our real estate system, and so it's hard for me to say exactly what all is public and what is not, but I can say, and I believe this one is public, and if I'm wrong, then I apologize, but there's fast stats that we use, so like charlotte.stats, .10kresearch.com. That's a website.
Well, if it's free, we'll include it in the show notes.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
that way,
we'll look at this.
Yeah.
Try to get some good stuff
Absolutely.
in there.
Okay. So cool. Well, that's a good idea. It's exciting to know that things are trending in an upwards direction still. It's always, the question is, how long is that going to happen and how long is that sustainable for? And, frankly, nobody really knows the answer to that, do they?
No, unfortunately, there's too many different things that come into play for that. But I like to think, so like one conversation that has been popping up, and I don't want to bring this up, it brings a lot of context to the question, right? There's so many things that we can't predict, like where the economy is going to be going, especially with just all of the changes that are happening on a world level in the sense of like trade agreements and everything. But Asheville, in its nature, is a resort town, right? And because of that, there's a lot of demand for people that are wanting to either live here full-time or part-time. There's a lot of traffic that is going to be coming through here, and I really don't see anything happening right now that could devastate the market. I really see it continuing on an upward trend, especially with as much activity as we're getting and as much press. You always want to keep an eye out on stuff, but if there is any type of self-correction, I don't see it being a
massive,
dive. No, if anything, more like a plateau or something like that.
All right, man. Well, hey, really appreciate you taking the time to share your knowledge with us and with everybody who's tuning in. What's the best way for somebody to get connected or follow you? I mean, obviously, I know you got Asheville Talk, Asheville East, but where do they go from you so everything else they can find?
Well, you can find me on DixonPacifica.com.
Okay.
All my contact info is on there. You can email me at Daniel@DixonPacifica.com or go to Daniel Castillo Realtor on Facebook.
Cool. Awesome, man. Thank you so much. All right, there you have it. Now you know your numbers. Now you know why they're important. Now you know what to look for. So check out the show notes. We're going to do our best to include some helpful links. We'll see how much of that is MLS access versus free access, and we'll take it from there. Once again, you all really appreciate it if you take the time to leave us a rating, review on iTunes or anywhere else you listen. You can do so on Facebook. You can do so on YouTube. Just hit subscribe as well. And as a quick reminder, I want to invite everybody, if you're listening this far, it means that you enjoy what we're doing to a certain degree, and we'd love to connect with you at our meetup. It's the first Monday of every month. Just go to avlrealestatenews.com and you can get some more information there, Facebook or on meetup.com. Daniel will probably be there, hopefully again, and we'll definitely be there and hope to connect with everybody next month. All right, guys, take care.